Live with you on SportsGrid, where the football world has to balance an NFL slate and the college football playoff rankings for the first time ever in the 12-team era. Enjoy it. It probably won't be here that long. 16 teams is around the corner. At least that's my perception. Kevin Walsh joined by both, of course, Donnie Rightside and Joe Lisi as we wait to find out who's in, who's out, and what is this bracket going to look like here. We're going to, of course, still hit everything with you on this NFL Sunday. We've been doing it for the first 2 hours of this show. But, Lisi, this commands our attention right now. The football world is watching.
No, it's great. And we had great matchups play out yesterday. Clemson definitely in the college football playoff with their upset win over SMU. 58-yard field goal, 57 yards to end it on the last play of the game. Dynamic, dramatic atmosphere. And look at what Arizona State did in terms of just outplaying Iowa State on both sides of the ball. They were a pick-em in terms of that matchup. Won it by double digits in dynamic fashion. Cam Scatterboo, one of the most dynamic running backs in the country. I mean, this stage is set. Is Alabama in? Are they out? That's what we're going to find out in the next couple of minutes, Donnie.
Yeah, enjoyed watching the games yesterday, even though they have as much meaning as they had before, but nobody was opting out. Nobody was going pro. All the superstars were there, so it made for some really compelling TV to watch. But also, talk about compelling TV, Kevin. Have you ever been, watch a game like, you know what, I'm going to take a running back who should be the lead dog, and the other guy's been out multiple weeks, and all of a sudden he shows up and scores 2 touchdowns. That had to be the worst feeling for you yesterday.
Yeah, it wasn't
talking
fun.
about ETN.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'll be honest with you. I try and do my best to know if a guy's going to be in or out. They didn't know clearly that ETN was about to hit the field for that game.
Yep.
So the cap was right on Frazier. It was wrong on the way.
He would have did the same as ETN would have done. He was running very well also.
He looked better than ETN for the entire first
He almost had
half.
a touchdown in the fourth quarter. He ripped it around the corner. He almost got in.
Let's stick with that topic, actually, because had Georgia lost, we would have had to entertain some very annoying conversations about what a Carson Beck injury could mean.
Yeah.
They won. They almost assuredly will be your 2 seed here. The Ducks are unbeaten. Boise's not jumping Georgia or Arizona State or Clemson. So they have some time now. My question, and I'll go to you first, Lisi, is if we don't have Beck, and it is, the kid gunner that Stockton that came in yesterday, what do you think that would do to how they price the Georgia Bulldogs in that round 2 matchup?
Oh, I think it's a huge drop-off the way the books would value them, even though they're the second overall seed because they knocked off the Longhorns in back-to-back meetings. Defensively, still rock solid. They've been exposed in some games, especially Georgia Tech, from in terms of a front seven perspective. We know about the defense. Can the consistency from an offensive perspective as it relates to the passing attack with Stockton at the helm, even with 2 or 3 weeks preparation for their first game, let's just say, can that maintain to the level of Carson Beck? We always talk about productivity in terms of, wide receivers, right? We saw Arizona State overcome their starting wide receiver, Guillory, and the secondary option stepped up, and they put up dynamic numbers through the air. Quarterback is the one area at college where you have significant drop-off. Stockton is experienced. He's gotten game experience. But expecting him to put up 300-plus yards per game like Carson Beck, battle-tested in big matchups experience-wise, I think you'll get great value on the Georgia Bulldogs if Beck can't play over the next few weeks.
I would probably fade him at this point now because you weren't getting great quarterback play from Beck before he got injured yesterday. But it's that same thing. I got burned before. You go back to what? I think it was, Joe, 1998, 1999, Tennessee and Florida State, Marcus Outzen. That team's a machine. Outzen will be fine, though Outzen wasn't fine in that championship game and got outperformed by the Texas Volunteers in a big way. When I looked at the game yesterday, and I understand, kudos to the kid for getting out there and taking snaps. But they were treating him like, oh, my goodness, he's a legend. An interception, 60 yards passing in the second half, and ran around, almost got his head block knocked off at that point. So for me, I'm out on Georgia. If Beck was still playing and healthy, I'd be back in, but I just can't have a quarterback run the gauntlet of multiple games and expect there to be great results for me. That's all.
So I think that it's one of those situations where undoubtedly you would rather have Beck, right? It's just more proven. The fact that Stockton got to play in that game, in that environment, is what, to me, the comparisons that were hitting the timeline were Florida State. Those were terrible comparisons. I will not waste too much time on that. I will just tell you that what Stockton was able to do against Texas is a lot more than Rodemaker or Glenn did in their moments for Florida State, quite frankly. And it is, to me, though, again, better with Beck. I don't think Georgia's a lost cause, though, in my opinion, if they have to turn to Stockton. What I think is interesting, though, Lisi, because we don't know the extent of the Beck injury, and we may not know until their season comes to a close. But, I mean, I wonder if, because it looked like he suffered a really bad one at the end of it when that happened against Tech, right? But he played through it. I wonder if he suffered an injury so bad that Carson Beck's playing college football next season.
It's a possibility if he has eligibility, absolutely, depending upon the injury. Let's not forget, he was the number one quarterback at one point in terms of the draft process. So we shall see how it plays out. What do we have
so
here?
Just to give people an update here, this coming from Brett McMurphy, longtime college football reporter of Action Network. We'll give it to people as up-to-date as we can here. I don't love this, quite frankly, because this is like the draft stuff when Woj or Shams would do this, but he is apparently being told that SMU is in and Alabama is out. What I would say to that, and why I certainly don't mind us letting the people know, Donnie, is every expectation is that exact case.
Yeah, and you saw from the odds that we were updating you. Like we were saying, it's dropping from minus 1,000 to minus 720. It's still ridiculous odds price. It was like it revolted all the way down to a plus 120, minus 120 type stage here. It's not a surprise that happened. However, for me, I wanted Alabama in. I just think it's more intriguing television. But I did think SMU showed enough getting back in that football game, which never should be the case. But if they would have lost by 7+ points, it would have been really interesting. The fact that they actually came all the way back, Joe, tied the game, not just a junk touchdown at the end of the game, and saw that 55-yard field goal is how they got beat, or close to 60-yard field goal to end it here. I'm not surprised at all by SMU. They're deserving to be in. I just wish it was Alabama, because I think Alabama is more intriguing if they got it.
Yeah, big name product, having one of the most explosive players in Jalen Milroe, potentially in terms of a college football playoff environment. We talk about the margin of defeat all the time. 6 points. BYU and Clemson in an ACC championship game. We saw this play out with TCU with the top four. When TCU lost the Big 12 championship to K-State, there was will TCU be in there or not? They were put in, and look at what they did in terms of that run to the national championship. So you can never say never. I'll just say the committee, if Bama is, in fact, totally out, that Bama has 3 losses, and that loss to Oklahoma hurt them. If they had 2, there would be no doubt that they'd be in the playoff.
Here's the other thing that is going to hold, Bama out, is the least deserving team that will be in this field is Clemson. Clemson did have to play some step-up games out of conference that not a lot of other teams did, but they played them. They played Georgia and lost by 31 points. Mm-hmm. They played South Carolina at home as a favorite and lost that football game. They played Louisville at home, their toughest game in the ACC before playing SMU, and lost.
Right.
The expectation on those auto berths were never to look like this. It was never to have Boise be the 3 projected, Arizona State to be the 4 projected, and an undeserving 3-loss ranked outside of the top 15 heading into the conference title game, Clemson, steal the bid.
Yeah.
That's who stole the bid. A Clemson team that only has a chance because they thought they needed to uphold automatic berths from conference championship Saturday.
No, you're right, but I'll just throw this. We talk about college basketball. It's like when teams break that Final Four bracket. It's a similar type of situation.
Yes and no, because the no of it is 1,000 teams get in college hoops, and when NC State won the ACC tournament, Duke and North Carolina were still in the playoff. Alabama is not going to be in the playoff. We wait for the full unveiling on a busy Sunday morning right here on SportsGrid.
She was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell is one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of like, okay, like what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We're back at you right here on Pro Football Today. We've gone through the full slate so far on this NFL Sunday. We still have your whip around, your best bet, your touchdown scorers, and, of course, that Sell Me Something where we've got some good juice in there for the people. But we are also following the College Football Playoff Committee's unveiling, and we are taking a little bit longer than we usually do on the Tuesday special. Again, like if we're going to do it on the Sunday, cool, let's go.
Grip it and rip it.
You know what I mean? Like let's move it along here. I'd appreciate it, Lisi.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, is there a specific thing that you are waiting, that you are most interested to see? What did the committee do with this?
Yeah, I just want to see where Notre Dame is. I would like to see where they're ranked. I would like to see where Ohio State and Penn State are ranked after Penn State lost by margin yet again in a big game to Oregon. I do want to see both of those situations, Big Ten and Notre Dame, because Notre Dame, again, we talk about it, not a conference champion. They've won 9 straight games, dominant. That defense could go, toe-to-toe with anyone, Kev. So curious to see.
All right, what we are going to do as we wait for these rankings to come out is talk to the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chao, here on this Sunday morning. And, Doc, we appreciate you making some time with us here on what is a really, really busy Sunday. And, again, that, of course, includes, a lot of key games on the NFL board, including our Sunday nighter, where the Chiefs have a bit of a rarity when you look at their spread of just a 3.5-point home favorite here. Maybe some Chargers injuries playing into that number with Ladd McConkey. I know a question mark.
Yes, Ladd McConkey, he always tries to play through. I don't think the knee's a big deal. His AC joint sprain, he's been playing through that. But the biggest position to watch, we've been saying it all week, is the Chiefs have not had good tackle play, right tackle and left tackle. But Wanya Morris is going to lose his job to DJ Humphries. DJ Humphries is returning from a left knee ACL, which is his outside leg on the right side, and gives him a good chance to play reasonably well. And not only does he start this game, he solidifies that Chiefs offensive line for them. You can always shift protection to one side or the other, but you can't shift it to both. And I think he's going to be a big plus for the Chiefs.
Now, Doc, there was one game that stood out amongst the rest when you go to SixScore.com. And I talked on Thursday about the most banged-up unit of the week was that Detroit defense. But as a team, I mean, it might as well have been the opening game of their season compared to that San Francisco 49ers overall grade. What stood out to you for the crew at SixScore.com when you matched up the Bears compared to the Niners?
Yeah, but going back to the Thursday game, we loved Green Bay there with the 3.5 in the hook, and obviously that covered. Look, Dan Campbell's crazy like a fox. People think he's just nuts to go for it on those fourth downs, on the 4th and goal, etc. But he was doing it because he knew his defense was banged up. That's why he went for it late in the game. That's why he went for it on the 4th and goals, and it paid off for him there. San Francisco, we've been saying here on SportsGrid for weeks that their defense is incredibly banged up. And you've seen their demise in the last few weeks, and that continues to be the case this week versus the Bears.
And is there any projections for you guys, Doc, on McCaffrey specifically? I know you always warn us against the, sky is falling stuff, but man, it has been a tough run at it this season for CMC. When we're talking about McCaffrey next year, are we likely to project a normal Christian McCaffrey, if you will?
Look, I do not believe that Christian McCaffrey is injury prone. Look, that fall, game of inches, shoestring tackle, that was almost a touchdown, and he fell on his right knee and suffered the PCL. Any player in the NFL would have a PCL injury from that. I do not think he's injury prone. He's had a good couple of years, bad this year. In Carolina, he had a lot of injuries. I expect him to rebound. And let's break some news here. Dallas Goedert, it hasn't been announced yet, has a left knee PCL. That's why he went on injured reserve for the Eagles.
Wow.
His season is not over because the Eagles are going somewhere. CMC's has a similar injury. His season is essentially over because the 49ers by week 18 are not relevant. They're not making the playoffs. But the Eagles will get Dallas Goedert back. Dallas Goedert's not injury prone, neither is CMC. They both have PCL injuries.
Doc, last time we saw the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were playing in the snow. But how about this? George Pickens hit us with a little lightning bolt this morning, down because of a hamstring injury. Doc, did you see that coming? And also, how long are we looking at possibly Pickens being out?
We saw that coming because a Friday injury is not good for Sunday, and that happened Friday. They're calling it a tweak and minor, and he could have played, and they're sitting him. It's not long-term. Don't see it as IR, but he clearly is out today, and that is what we anticipated. The Steelers played the Browns 2 weeks ago, so this is a, quote, home game for the Steelers, revenge for that snow game loss.
Again, I want to remind everybody, you get over to SixScore.com. Make sure you go to SixScore.com/picks. Use that promo code SportsGrid. They have been excellent all year.
New look on the site, Kev, by the way, today.
Very sharp
out
that? There. Very, very sharp. We appreciate you taking time for us here on this Sunday.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys. Check out the new revamped site.
Yeah.
It looks great over there. SixScore.com. Again, before all these slates there, we were talking about it on Thursday and what it meant for that game. Now, quickly, if you hang out with us on Monday nights and Thursday nights, you are used to touchdowns coming during commercials. We don't make the schedule, unfortunately. It is not our fault that they wasted 25 minutes on this darn thing. We are about to go to our quick commercial break. It is 2 minutes. Go nowhere. When you get back, very, very likely, we will have the projected field of the first ever 12-team college football playoff, and you will get our full reactions, what it means, and the updated odds, because trust me, the market will be moving, and these books will be running quickly to get you point spreads and totals for those round one games, and SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way. It is a 2-minute break. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
She was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell's one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of like, okay, like what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. So I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We're back, and we have not missed a lot, quite frankly. Oregon is 1, Georgia is 2. That was obvious. We knew that was going to be the case. As you, Donnie, said on the Victor Wembanyama NBA draft,
yes,
still got a perfect track.
Exactly.
Still got the perfect mock draft.
Nailed Oregon 1 after last night. That's my only bet of the day.
Yep.
Minus 20,000.
Yep.
Which is fantastic there. Boise does get the 3 seed. Lisi, it is one of these things that Boise has earned the 3 seed on the format.
Mm-hmm.
They are nowhere near the third best team in the country. And this is one of these things where these auto berths coming back to bite this, whoever came up with this in year 1 could spur change. Everybody assumed, well, the G5 team we put in is going to be the 12, and Boise's the 3 seed.
Right.
Yeah.
When you look at it, one loss, right? Where that came to Oregon, top team in the country, by 3 points. They were 18.5, 19.5 point underdog. And they went toe-to-toe with the Ducks in Eugene. If that game was in Boise, maybe it would have a different type of effect. Arizona State, I'm seeing as the 4 seed overall.
Yeah.
So that's good. I mean, if Boise had 2 conference losses or 2 losses, and Arizona State and Clemson had 2, maybe you can make that argument. But they're clearly a 1-loss conference champ.
I want to throw something your way.
Sure.
Here's something that I believe that a lot of people were completely lost on when giving their projected field, is that they're not making a bracket. They are doing the rankings, and that will make the bracket. So if you want to have a little fun, on that side panel right there, Donnie, see how it goes? Boise at 9. We don't have our 10 seed.
Yes.
Right. Arizona there, 12. Yeah. Okay. How that likely fills in is Indiana was in front of Boise. So Boise's probably not going to jump IU, and their Arizona State was in front of Clemson. Arizona State is probably not going to have Clemson jump them, and SMU is going to sit smack dab right there, and they're going to make Clemson the 12 seed, and that would be an upset. The market really did believe that SMU was going to be the 12, because the other option then, Lisi, would be Clemson in front of Arizona State. We know that's not the case. Arizona State has the bye.
Right, so there you go. Clemson right now, 12th seed overall. So it's deserving. I mean, Clemson doesn't have that marquee win outside the win last night against SMU. You talk about it. You look at the loss to Louisville. They had won 4 straight games heading into that matchup, right? They were laying, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, around 6.5, or maybe it was 10.5. 10.5 in that game. They allowed Louisville to rush for 311 yards and 7.3 yards per carry in that loss. They were down by double digits. That's only their 5th home loss since 2015. Straight up. They don't lose at home, and they got absolutely smashed by Louisville, and that's why you're seeing them, 12 overall. Coupled with the fact that, they had the lead against South Carolina, lost it, and we'll see what happened. Texas is 3. Come on.
Smash job.
Come on.
Right there.
Come on.
Smash job.
Texas and the love. Love for Texas, 3 overall.
So here's what
Clemson, Texas.
Now there's a lot of inconsistency from the committee.
You can't tell me they're not doing it for TV ratings, though. Clemson, Texas is please.
Well, the alternative, I believe, would have been Notre Dame, Clemson, which would have done very well.
We saw that already.
Not this year.
No, but I'm saying in recent years in the playoffs.
We're not happy at Texas with this seed? What's
so
going
here's
on?
what I don't like, Donnie.
Yeah.
Is this now the committee is going way out of their way to say, if you play in a conference championship game, it didn't hurt you at all.
Yeah.
That has never been the precedent, though.
No, lose late, lose last is what they used to say.
Well, that's it.
And I think how those games play out, but Texas now, and this is the inconsistency, Texas has 0 wins against ranked opponents. They played 2 games against a ranked opponent and lost both. Now, I think Georgia's great. They think Georgia's the second best team. I'm not telling you Texas should not be in.
Yeah.
But that Texas resume does not hold up at all when you take a look now here at the way that they decided to. And again, this is all I'm going to say.
Penn State, the big
There is
winner.
no way that would have been the playoff last year and they would have knocked Notre Dame out.
No.
I'm just telling you.
I know. Now, Penn State. Now, I have a problem
Shotgun
with
to the semis now.
I do. I have a problem with Penn State ahead of Notre Dame. I do. I'm sorry. They didn't win a big game all year. And we talk about the games at home that they were booked. Ball State, Bowling Green. I forget which one it was, but they were down 24-20. They won by 7 as a 34.5-point favorite at home. They laid 28.5 to UCLA. They didn't win by margin. They laid 18.5 to Illinois. Didn't win by margin. They got pushed by Minnesota. I mean, how do you have them?
You thought Notre Dame was going to be 5?
I did.
All right.
I projected Notre Dame to be 5.
Unbelievable.
Donnie, having one loss.
Yeah. There's Notre Dame.
And the fact
So
that
they really knocked them down on the NIU loss then. So they can't be up there.
So actually, no, not Donnie, no, because that team, what happened was from last week's rankings, they went, whoa, what a win by Georgia. Shoot them up to 2, right? But the teams that lost didn't hurt you one bit, which is very inconsistent. We're going to get the rest of these rankings with you, some Sell Me Something as well.
She was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell is one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
One team up and got it.
All right, we're back with you right here on SportsGrid. We are getting the final pieces to the college football playoff opening 12-team bracket. We have a few matchups already set. Texas will be hosting Clemson. Ohio State will be hosting Tennessee. We now wait to see who both Notre Dame and Penn State will be hosting. Every reason to believe that Notre Dame will be hosting Indiana, and that is the exact case. And now would be the big suspense moment, but a spoiler that got sent out there, plus the projected odds, are going to tell us, Donnie, we're likely going to be getting Penn State SMU in the opening round.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what's interesting. Like last week, I fell in love with the projections for the first-round games. And I was like, boy, if I could just slip SMU out of there and get Alabama in, I couldn't even pick a better first-round slate of games that would be absolutely titanic ratings. I'm not saying they're not going to be great ratings or great football games, and I will be betting on those. But I look at Clemson, Texas. I know, Joe, you're excited about that. That's okay for me. Tennessee, Ohio State, fantastic. SEC warm weather team. Cold weather, Ohio State, Big Ten. Love that. Then you take a look at Indiana, Notre Dame. Doesn't do as much for me than Notre Dame and Alabama that we were lining up, which would have been sensational. And then SMU, yes, good football team. But for me, last week's first round, so much more intriguing than what I'm actually getting.
Yeah, it is. But in-state rivalry potentially with Indiana knocking off the big boys in terms of Notre Dame. It's a Rudy moment potentially for the Fighting Irish. We'll see what happens. But you look at the rankings, and Penn State now, they're going to be what? 10-point favorites over SMU at home, another dominant home team, and then they're going to face off against Boise, a team
in a neutral
site that they potentially win. So the fact that Penn State doesn't have a marquee win on the resume, lost to Ohio State, lost to Oregon, the two best teams that they played, they got the easiest road to potentially the semifinals, huh?
So here is the way that this broke out. And there was, I'll give it, you know what, I mean, I guess it's a big action day. I saw one of their guys, Stuckey, does good work for them, say Oregon should lose to Penn State intentionally. And they would never do that.
Yeah.
But he wasn't wrong. Would you rather host Clemson, go and play Arizona State on a neutral, or get the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee?
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what Oregon has now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oregon is going to have the shortest spread in the quarterfinal round.
When it's supposed to be a layup game.
Unless you get
you
could get an upset.
Yeah.
You could get an upset.
Yeah.
SMU, Indiana, or Clemson pull off an upset. That would change the equation. But if chalk holds, the shortest favorite in that quarterfinal round, Oregon could be a dog.
Yeah.
Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Ohio State was always projected to beat Oregon if they met in the Big Ten title game.
Tennessee is one of the better teams in the SEC. They're certainly not a team like LSU. They have a top 10 defense that can bring it. Nico a little inconsistent, but they have one of the top rushing attacks in all of college football. And Josh Heupel, a very good coach. So, I mean, you look at that matchup potentially if Tennessee or Ohio State. I mean, they're going to be up against it when you look at that second-round battle. So it's unfortunate. I know Dan Lanning, he's up for the task, and he'll say, hey, best man up. We'll take it. But when you look at this breakdown, easiest path right now is Penn State, I believe.
And also, you're taking a look at those buys, which needs to be worked out. The buy should be, we're waiting on you in Autzen Stadium. Come on back. Let's whip this butt. And now you're like, okay, let's go to a neutral site game when you know Ohio State's going to travel, and it's a 50-50 proposition. So what did actually you get from being the number one overall seed? Yes, you love a bye, but three other teams got a bye. And now you're saying, okay, we're 1,000 miles away from our home stadium, which is going to have an equal amount there for Ohio State. And also keep in mind, Ohio State's, we're projecting Ohio State wins, let's just say.
Sure,
Ohio State wins,
point
they're already in playoff mode. Now we get Oregon, let's go. So I don't know. It's crazy.
I'll go a step further here. The only reason you could argue that Georgia shouldn't be title favorites is the quarterback question. Because you want to just, again, based on what we've seen in college football history, Donnie, right? Oregon gets through Ohio State.
Yeah.
Likely waiting for them is Texas. Waiting for Georgia would project as either Penn State, who can't beat a good team, or Boise State. Georgia would be a considerable favorite.
Let me ask, because there will be changes made to the seeding process. But if it leads you now, what is the point of playing anybody out of conference? I mean, play three FCS teams that can't even get out of their own way.
That's what's going to happen. You know, we used to say that we used to see the top 25 battles first week, August 31st, and
Why would you
Labor Day.
Buy out of it. Buy out of it. Get rid of it.
Let me tell you right now, the biggest problem they have is doing this show every week.
It's true.
I am telling you right now, because you can't change.
You can't rationalize. You can't rationalize it.
Let me tell you who would not be here if they could give us one final thing: Indiana. But because we do it every week, right? Indiana fell behind Alabama. when they lost to Ohio State.
Yeah.
But Bama lost again, so now we got to move it here. They never. I'm telling you.
Yes, you're right.
Indiana never would have been. And SMU wouldn't be in the field.
But
by the
they
way.
set the precedent.
Miami would be in there.
When they set this up originally with the 4, right? It was conference championships were supposed to matter. They were supposed
They
to
were
hold,
hoping to try and give them
hold
some,
weight.
Yeah.
And then we transitioned. And then last year we said, you know what? We had a team in Florida State that was undefeated conference champ, and we brought the fact up that they weren't the same team that they were at the start of the year. Even though in 2014, the first year of the college football playoff, Cardale Jones and the Buckeyes ran wild through the bracket.
Yeah.
So it wasn't consistent then. And then on top of it, we had a team that was the hottest in the country in Georgia that won 29 and 30 games, lost by 3 to Alabama, and we said, you know what? We don't want Georgia in there. They're not deserving. Right now, we want the best teams available. Well, Georgia was one of the best teams last year, and we didn't put them in. It's just. They need a point system. That's what they need. And they need a cookie-cutter point system where these people...
Like power ratings.
Yeah.
No, those exist. People will go nuts. I'm telling you. No,
but it's unfortunate, but then you know what? You would see better schedules during the regular season. If conference top 25 wins mattered and there was a point system, you would see these teams schedule harder.
They control the top 25.
I understand
Here's my point. Penn State has the top 25 win. Because they beat Illinois. You and I don't think that's a great win.
Right. But they didn't cover from margin to 18.5-point favorite.
They don't care about that.
I know they don't care.
By the way, lines out for the first round. Texas minus 14.5 against Clemson. Ohio State minus 6 against Tennessee. Penn State minus 9 against SMU. And Notre Dame 8.5 as a favorite over Indiana.
That Notre Dame line is intriguing. 8.5.
Look, I think they're all really intriguing. I think here's going to be another very interesting thing. Does home field win the day? Because that's what a lot of these teams have been waiting on.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get home field advantage? And the last thing I'll say, and look, the paths make it all tricky, but if you are Notre Dame, you did just get penalized for not playing in a conference. Mm-hmm. We've talked about year in and year out that not making the difference for Notre Dame. It made the difference here.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't know if there's movement down to 6.5 right now on FanDuel.
Oh, yeah.
So 8.5
they're going to be moving
up
fast.
They just smashed, if you can get Indiana over a touchdown, bettors are taking it.
What are you seeing?
I'm looking Indiana and Notre Dame, 6.5. Donnie said it was 8.
Where are you seeing 6.5?
FanDuel, I got it right here. Now it's 7.5.
I'm not even seeing that game.
Clemson, Texas,
yeah,
Tennessee,
right here.
Ohio State.
Under playoffs.
That's interesting. I'm not even seeing that game
Joe's
on
FD. It might be picking it up. New York? Could it be picking up?
I'm seeing
only got
DK
2.
at 9. I'm seeing DK at 9. That's interesting.
Okay, so I got right now 11.5 Texas Clemson.
Where are you going?
Yeah.
11.
Taking the points?
I would probably take the points. The one thing that hasn't impressed me about Texas, and Kevin and I have talked about it, they haven't put teams away, right? I mean, they did it. They beat Kentucky. They don't cover. They have a first-half performance against Vanderbilt. They don't cover. They play down to the level of competition. You have a backup quarterback with Georgia.
Yeah.
The blood is – you're supposed to see and smell the blood in the water. That defense and Quinn Ewers couldn't step up. If it wasn't yesterday, is it ever going to be?
Yeah.
They might get a first-round game against Clemson, but I'll still take the points with Dabo as an underdog.
All right. Well, listen, there you kind of have it here. I guess it was kind of spoiled for us.
6.5 now with Ohio State. Took the 7.5.
Again, but it's going to – Clemson, 16th. That's who got in.
Yeah.
16th, Clemson, because they couldn't shoot him in front of South Carolina because of the head-to-head loss and everything like that. It's just the current format does box in a little bit and
clean it up, people. But the best part about it is, this was unavoidable. Everybody that saw this new playoff format come out with the automatic bids and the buys were like, yep, we know where this is going to turn, and now this is where it turns.
And one final thing. If I ever have to hear about SEC bias again, I'll tell you right now, especially love him, the other guy, I don't ever want to hear it. There was no SEC bias when they put this thing together. Not a single bit of it. Quickest whip around of all time next.
She was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell's one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. So I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's run it because we got to go fast like never before. Tampa Raiders 6.5-point line in favor of the Bucs here, Lisi. 46.5 total. What do you like?
Yeah, I like Tampa just because they're fighting for a wild card right now. Las Vegas has lost 8 straight. I don't believe in the defense of the secondary. Baker, big day over the top, and I like the over 46.5.
Yeah, unless Max Crosby is crushing pockets for 3.5 to 4 sacks today, Baker Mayfield should be able to get off on that weak secondary. Sterling Shepard, for me, is that key counterpoint because if I look at Mike Evans a little bit banged up, somebody's got to eat. I think Shepard eats today, so there you go.
Baker over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Last week, Mahomes didn't get there against the Raiders, but it stopped a 5-game streak of opposing QBs getting multiple passing touchdowns. Baker due in that category. Steelers-Browns under 43.5 is my best bet. We're going to get to that in just a moment. That number's dropping due to the George Pickens news, Lisi, where he's out for this game.
Yeah, I still think Cleveland will be live. They went toe-to-toe with Denver, couldn't cover as a 6.5-point dog. I do believe that on the road today they cover. Lower scoring game. Look for more Nick Chubb and Jerome Ford in the rushing attack to keep Russ Wilson on the sidelines, but it's Cleveland in the under for me, Donnie.
Yeah, maybe not as explosive version of a game that you're going to see, which these two teams played in last weekend. So I do think they come into it. Jameis Winston, look, he throws no pick sixes today, they cover. He throws one or more, they don't. I'm going to say he was delivered from throwing pick sixes last weekend, so I'm actually going to take the 6.5 here and keep it close with the Browns.
All right, let's get to the Titans-Jaguars game here. Laying a field goal for the Tennessee Titans at home. Total in this one is 40.5. A classic Thursday night AFC South special.
Yeah, I'm going to take the dog with Mac Jones. I do believe that Calvin Ridley and Brian Thomas from a receiving aspect can go through their totals today, but I'm going to take the points with the Jags. Now that it's 40.5, I lean to the under. Don't love the total in any capacity.
Only thing I trust in this game is Tony Pollard. By the way, I trusted the Titans last week on the road against the Washington Commanders, and boy, they were down 28-0 before you could absolutely blink. So there's no way I'm laying 3 points with the Titans today, but I do think Pollard has a good day.
All right, a little love there for Tony P. I would probably play the over in that game. Just hope that everything kind of can fall your way there. Two dead teams. The defenses are very banged up. I did play under 45.5 in Eagles-Panthers there. I also played Jalen Hurts over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Carolina's allowed 9 of 12 opponents to have 2+ passing touchdowns. Hurts at plus 136. Lisi, good number.
Yeah, I would lay it with the 13.5, not playing it from the side perspective. My best bet here is the over 44.5. Bryce Young playing much better. I think he could potentially throw 2 touchdowns. That doesn't mean they cover this line. I think the Eagles could put up points as well. So I'm laying it with the Eagles, but really like the over. I'm on Chuba Hubbard as well. Anytime touchdown.
Yeah, at least 28 points for the Eagles. I think they do whatever they want to that defense. So it is going to be having a quote-unquote running mate where the game isn't secured by 5 minutes minutes to go in the third quarter that maybe Bryce Young comes up with it. So for me, I do think the Eagles win by 13.5, but I'm really amped up. Saquon Barkley to score a touchdown, A.J. Brown to score a touchdown, Devontae Smith to have a good game. So Eagles for me in a runaway it should be.
All right, Minnesota and Atlanta, the Vikings, a 6.5 now point home favorite. Total in this one, 46.5. I would look towards Atlanta's team total in this game if you made me play it. It's a tricky one, Lise.
Yeah, this is my best bet. We'll get to it a little bit later, but you have a team that's won 5 straight. The flip side is Atlanta's lost 3 straight. Don't like Kirk Cousins, even though he's going back home, turnover prone. I think they get to him early and often. I think they sack him for his turnovers. I think JJ over 83.5 in terms of his receiving total, altered him up to 100+, Donnie.
I think I would have egg on my face. I'm going to buy Atlanta 6.5. I think Bijan controls the ground game, slows the clock down. Kirk learned from his mistakes last week. Big game in Minnesota. Not to say Vikings aren't going to win this game, but I think the Falcons can keep it close.
All right, little love there for the Falcons from DRS. Any love for the New York Jets catching the same number? 6.5 on the road. Total for this one's 45.5. I like Tyreek Hill to have a monster game here against the New York Jets. I think Braylon Allen has some juice as well, Lisa.
Yeah, he might. I can only look Miami. Not sure what you're going to get in terms of the New York Jets, and that leads me to the under in terms of the matchup. Don't like it from the side total perspective. Dolphins and under.
I actually think the game goes over. I think the Jets will just throw it all over the lot now. Lazard's back. You got your 3 wide receivers. Your best running back technically is down. I think they throw it up, but also Tua Tagovailoa. Big day today. And it's crazy that Joe actually backing his favorite football team today. And the Dolphins?
Yeah, it's just because, the Jets got smashed in second half.
I would actually lean, I think, Miami's direction on that one. Giants Saints, 5.5 point line. This is where I would favor the New York side, actually. At home, I think Dable in this building has to get these guys moving a little bit, but I don't love it enough to bet it.
Yeah, we talk about how dominant, they've been in terms of recent weeks in New Orleans in terms of moving the football with Derek Carr, Taysom Hill out, Darren Rizzi going back home, but 0-6 for the Giants. I think this is a spot that they can actually cover the 5.5. I don't know exactly who steps up. We have a lot of injuries, but look for Wan'Dale Robinson. My sell me something was Drew Lock, 275 plus at plus 680. Maybe he throws it all over the yard. I like the Giants in the over.
Keeping it simple for me, Tyrone Tracy Jr. over 62.5 yards. If you're taking the 5.5 points and he gets over that, they will be in this football game. If he cannot rush the football, Drew Luck is going to get battered in the pocket like he did last week. So I'm going to say, you know what, give me Tracy's over. And also, if he does that, take the 5.5.
Arizona, Seattle, 2.5 point spread now in some spots there. Looks like some Seattle buy. Total on this one is 45.5. I lean towards Arizona. I lean towards Seattle. Lean towards the over. Lean towards the under.
Whoa.
Trickiest game on the slate, if I'm honest. Give me Kyler Murray to throw a pick.
Okay, he might throw a pick, but I also think he breaks out in the passing attack over his total today. Really like Arizona at home in a bounce-back spot. Revenge from 2 weeks ago. 4-2 at home. I think James Conner gets going. I believe in that defense to force turnovers over Geno. Really love the over. That's my best bet at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, Captain Call of Duty for me, baby. Minus 2.5. Let's go Cards by 3+ points. We're ready.
Man, we're trying to go
that?
fast. Yeah, a lot, actually. Niners, Bears. Niners laying 3 is my favorite side on your board today.
Ooh.
I think they step up at home here. The Eberflus bump is not real. This Bears team loses again like they have every single road game this season.
Call them gutless. 0-5 at home. No true road wins. It's not going to stop today. I think they go to 0-6. They've lost 6 straight. I think at least right now, San Francisco could pick up a home win. San Fran, but the under here.
I'm going to light up an La Aroma de Cuba today, right around the end of this game, so I can say, smoke that pack. The Niners are done for 2024. Give me the Bears, plus 3.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. DRS, easy. Rams, Bills, 3.5 point line here. Total in this one is 49.5. I lean towards L.A. I like Josh Allen on the ground in this game.
Yeah, I like L.A. a lot. Like him plus the points. Also over the 49.5. Look for Cooper Kupp to bounce back in a big way, and Kyron as well.
Yeah, let's get some juice in this game. Give me the over 49.5. Points, SoFi.
All right.
Up next, sell me something, touchdown scorers, best bets, Sunday night football, and maybe a round 1 pick out of Lisi college football playoff. I don't know, maybe.
Wow.
We'll see what we can get him to do. We got a lot of time now.
She was recruited to Oregon partially by, Guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell is one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look like, okay, like what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Pro football today. We close it out here. Kevin Walsh, Donnie Rightside, and Joe
show.
Lisi. Let's give him the sell me something here. I imagine people been edge of their seat waiting for this all day. What do you got, Lisi?
I said it in the last segment. Drew Lock 275 plus at 680, or it might even be 7-1. I don't know who he's going to throw the football to, but that performance on Thursday against Dallas, I think he needs to do better. Made some plays with his legs. Today, it's through the air.
All right, for me, Tony Pollard, a 100-yard day and a touchdown at a plus 400 price for me. I look at the Jacksonville Jaguars as a bad defense here, and if you are the Titans, stop throwing the football. Just run the football. Pollard's going to be the linchpin today. That's a 4-1 price. I'm willing to bank on it.
Fine, Donnie, like the old school, give it a little bit of a name.
Oh.
I don't know, Hunting Over the Hill, old buddies hanging out here. It's pretty simple. 80-plus receiving yards for Tyreek Hill, 40-plus rushing yards for his old buddy Kareem Hunt. On the ground, it's around a plus 650 parlay. And that's right into our Sunday night football game with the Chargers and the Chiefs. Kansas City, a 3.5, 4-point favorite. Total in this one is 42.5. That's my look. I like the over in this game. Both offenses looking to bounce back from underwhelming performances last week here. I think both defenses looking vulnerable in their last few performances.
Yeah, I was impressed with the performance against Atlanta by the Chargers. Secondary, 4 interceptions. I think it carries over. It's back-to-back road games for the Chargers. I don't care. Give me the 3.5 points. We talk about Kansas City, how dominant they are at home, 6-0, but they've only won those games by an average margin of 5.1 points per game. Give me the Chargers, but I'm with you in terms of the over, Donnie.
Yeah, I'll go Kansas City in this game, and also I'm going to take the under in this one. You look at that team total around 19.5, 20 points for the Chargers. I'm not sure if they get there, and I'm not sure the game situation is going to dictate a lot of points from my end. You also talk about those left tackles and right tackles here struggling for Kansas City. I think that helps the Chargers defense. Give me the under. Go against you guys.
All right, DRS looking for the defenses to step up here. We'll see if that's how it plays out. Again, I feel the recent performances suggest some vulnerability, but perhaps you get that step-up style on a Sunday night or prime time, no doubt. Get to your best bets here as well as your anytime touchdown scores. Lisi, start us off as always.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people are backing Kirk Cousins going back to Minnesota, but this is a team that has lost 3 straight games. Cousins coming off a 4-interception performance. And again, he struggles against defensive fronts that get after. He struggled against Denver in that front 7. You look at Minnesota, what they did to Joe Flacco earlier in the year. I think they challenge him early, pressure him, get to him, sack him, you name it. They have whatever they want against Kirk Cousins. I think they dominate this ball game from start to finish. They've won 5 straight by narrow margins. Not today. Double-digit win, Donnie.
Yeah, we'll see if they open it up, and also playing good defense. That Brian Flores-led squad. If you can hold down Bijan Robinson, that should be a win and a cover. We'll see how it plays out. For me, I'm going the South Beach, Joe. Your favorite football team. It's Tua Tagovailoa at a good price here. Over 1.5 touchdown passes, minus 115 going against a Jets team without Sauce Gardner. Nice weather. I do think you can get a running mate with the Jets today, so I look towards an over in this game. But Tua Tagovailoa exploiting the inefficiencies now in that secondary for the Jets. And also, Armstead will be playing today at left tackle. That was a key guy that's up today that I thought might not be there. Let's give it a little bit extra time.
I like
QB.
I decided to try and make some history.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I don't think anyone's ever given out an under in the best bet segment
I
here.
like the guy playing is key, though, right?
And that's exactly why we show you George Pickens here, because Pickens is inactive for this game and caused this number to drop here between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. This is a sell-high spot with both teams coming off of monstrous scoring efforts last week, as well as a game that was lined 2 weeks ago at 36.5. I know the weather was different, not a touchdown different in my opinion. We go under Steelers and Browns. Lisi, your favorite anytime touchdown score?
Yeah, I hit it last week with Puka Nacua at plus 130. I'm going back to the well. Chuba Hubbard at plus 110. There's no doubt that Philly potentially wins this game, but in terms of garbage points, Chuba Hubbard at plus value, I think he can run one in. Also over this 50.5 today.
Let me tell you something about my best bet here for touchdowns. It's A.J. Brown, coming from a true wide receiver. You know Saquon's scoring. You know that ball's in the 1-yard line, it's Jalen Hurts. And let me tell you something, if Devonta Smith comes back after missing multiple weeks and gets in the end zone and A.J. Brown doesn't, there's going to be hell to pay. A.J. Brown plus 125 absolutely is scoring today, or there's going to be issues.
I'm sure you've seen they keep asking him in the
like,
hey, AJ, how you feel about your targets last few weeks here?
So good.
But he starts smiling so big.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't get angry.
Yeah.
Like, why are you trying? Because he's like, yeah, you're on to it, though. I don't really love this.
Who leaked this out? Yeah.
I'm on Isaac Orendo, minus 115. Niners my favorite side of the day, and part of that is because I like Isaac Orendo to step in here and be actually, again, as good as Mason. Give them more in the receiving game, though. At home, I trust the Niners, and that Bears defense can bend a little bit there, so we go for Isaac Orendo at a minus 115 price. Joe Lisi, Donnie Rightside.
What a show.
Kevin Walsh.
What a show.
Yeah. Pro football today. We did it all, and we'll do it again tomorrow.
Same crew.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because it's parody. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of like, okay, like what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. So I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.